good morning to you folks on this happy Friday the 13th and the third week of college football, second week of the NFL. I'm Kenny White, the Wizard of Odds, here with you every Friday for 30 minutes, sports by the book at the South Point, but not today at the South Point, in my home studio here at Kenny White Sports. And I'll be here with you every Friday for 30 minutes, as I said, getting you as much action as I can on the sports betting board, all the games that I like for the college football schedule, the NFL schedule, and Major League Baseball schedule today. Sports by the Book, many different shows. 3 days a week, there's Sports by the Book Football Frenzy. That's Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Monday and Thursday, 3 to 4, 1 hour show. On Friday, you get Chris Andrews, Jimmy Vaccaro, and Vinny Magliulo. Easy for me to say. Sorry, Vinny. On Friday from 2 to 4, Vinny Mags will be there with Chrissy and Jimmy. That's a great show. The Bookmaker, Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy. Saturday and Sunday, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Alex White and Jeff Parles will take you right up to the college kickoff action. And then Sunday, the same, 9 a.m. to 10. So an hour before the early kickoffs on Saturday and Sunday, Jeff Parles and Alex White, Sports by the Book. And then you also catch Alex White and myself Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 9 a.m., Sports by the Book. That's all you got to do. Go to the South Point Studio. The South Point Studio page on YouTube will direct you to all of these great shows and information. The other one, Race Day, Las Vegas. Ralph Sirocco does an amazing job with the horses, got a lot of great guests every day. That's 7 a.m. live, Wednesday to Sunday. But you'll find all these great shows at South Point Studios. Let's get into some football. Here we go. Friday. It's Friday the 13th. I feel like yesterday should have been Friday the 13th with Tua throwing 3 interceptions and Arizona State coming back from a 21-7 deficit. Tough day. I did catch the Miami game under, though, which saved me. And in a lot of my stuff, when I give you plays that I like and that I bet myself, when I'm wrong on especially a total at halftime, I go back and bet the same thing. And last night was a high-scoring first half with Buffalo and Miami. Because of turnovers, I had no shot to probably win my under 50 bet. So I bet the second half under. I think total at that point, I was under 57.5 for the game and was fortunate enough to catch both bets. I thought I was going to catch the second half bet for sure because I thought that would be a game that Miami, if they fell behind, Buffalo would run clock and they'd get out of there. I do like games that are much closer to keep under. But again, more unders and overs, and I was lucky to catch both those to at least get some of the damage back from the Dolphins and Texas State yesterday. Let's go on to tonight. UNLV and Kansas. Big game for UNLV. These two played in the bowl game last year. Kansas won the game, so we do have bowl revenge for the Rebels. But I made the Jayhawks 13.5 and 67.5 in this game. Lance Leopold, head coach at Kansas. This guy's a great coach. Was at Wisconsin Whitewater, Division III. I know it's Division III, but it doesn't matter what division you're at. He was dominating in that division. Won 6 national titles, went 109-6. And it doesn't matter what level you're at when you do those put up those type of wins. That's impressive. He did it at Buffalo. He took a program in Buffalo and won 13 games before he got there. They only won 13 in his first 3 years. Luckily, they gave him a 4th, and he won 10 games. He won 8 the next year and 6-1 in COVID, and he went 24-10 in his last 3 years at Buffalo, good enough to get him the Kansas job. And he's already improved this Kansas team. As I mentioned, took him to a bowl game last year and won the bowl game over UNLV. Not bad, because UNLV is vastly improved. Barry Odom, the head coach here, used to be the head guy at Missouri. He's a defensive coordinator by trade. After Missouri, went to Arkansas, and he's brought his defensive style to Las Vegas with the Rebels. Their defense is vastly improved, but their offense is as well. Offensive coordinator Brennan Marion runs a go-go offense. They spread it out. They run the ball through those seams, and it sets up the pass, and they throw the ball extremely well. They brought in a transfer from Holy Cross through the portal. A guy that was a 4-year starter is a dual-threat quarterback. He's ran for over 3,700 yards in his career. He has 39 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Daniels, the quarterback for Kansas, has got great skills and really outstanding numbers at his time at Kansas. Remember, they were the underdog in most of the games that he played in his career. 23 starts, 68% completions. He's thrown for over 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 INTs, almost a 4-to-1 ratio. So far this year, off to a slow start, a lower completion percentage, lower yards per pass, and he has thrown 4 picks to just 3 touchdowns. He'll turn that around. He's another dual threat guy, over 600 career rushing yards with 13 rushing TDs. So you got 2 dual threat guys that'll make things happen with their arm or with their legs. Kansas will play fast, 28 seconds in between in plays. They do like to run it 60% of the time, but that sets up their passing game. UNLV is the same. They're about a 60% run team, but they play fast. That go-go offense last year, 28th fastest pace in the country. Again, my number 13.5. I'll give 2.5 to the Rebels for the revenge factor and make this game 11. But Kansas is coming off a loss to the Illini, so I think they'll be very focused. My total 67. This one at the South Point opened Kansas 7.5. It is currently 7.5. The total 56.5. That's still at 56.5. So that number right there as well. Chris Andrews and his team put those numbers up right on point. Let's move to Alabama and Wisconsin. Big game for the Badgers, and they have a new head coach in Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell, one of my favorite coaches, was a defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Get all my sheets together. Sorry, there you don't see the back of my head. Arizona, Wisconsin, and Fickell was at Ohio State. Defensive coordinator, did a great job there. He gets the Cincinnati job and turns Cincinnati into a national powerhouse. He will do the same with Wisconsin. He is a A-plus coach, one of my top 5 in the country. Does a great job defensively, and he's a very innovative offensive guy. Very rarely do you see a defensive guy that is innovative on offense and likes to play fast, likes to spread the field, likes to call trick plays. He will gamble on offense. And that's what you're going to see out of Wisconsin. He brought in a really good quarterback through the transfer portal in Tyler Van Dyke, was at Miami. He's a senior. He's going to add to this offense. It'll take a little bit of time, but he's going to make this offense a lot better. The defense will be there. Alabama, we know. Nick Saban is gone. He retires. Kalen DeBoer gets hired. DeBoer was at Washington the last 2 years, 25-3 record. He took his team to the Final Four. That may be on the arm of Michael Penix, though. Penix, NFL quarterback right now with the Atlanta Falcons as a backup, really did a great job with Washington. DeBoer did a good job at Fresno State, though. Built that program in 2 years. He's an offensive coordinator by trade, DeBoer is, so he does like offense, and he's got a heck of a quarterback in Jalen Milroe. But he's up against Wisconsin defense, so we'll see what happens there. My number not quite as high in this game. I do like the underdog. I like Wisconsin. If you're going to give me points, that many, I'm going to take it. Chrissy's team opened up Alabama 15 at the South Point. It's currently 15. I think you can find a 16.5 in the market. So get the best number you can there. That total at 50.5 is right on the number. This game I did on my show, Bet the Gambit, earlier today, or actually didn't. I promised I would do this game on Sports by the Book today. So hopefully you transferred over and you tuned in today to Sports by the Book. Please subscribe and like. It tells YouTube how many people are watching our show and how many people like our show. It's good for the analytics. Louisiana Tech takes on North Carolina State. I bet this game over, and it moved down. And the South Point must have liked it over a little bit. Chris and his team, they opened this 52, this total against North Carolina State. The number now down to 48.5 is pretty much the market. I made it 57.5. This is one of the few games that has gone against me. I understand a little bit about that. North Carolina State, Dave Dorian, is a defensive coordinator by trade. Before he got the job at North Carolina State, he was head coach at Northern Illinois. But before that, he was the Wisconsin D coordinator for 3 years. That's what got him the Northern Illinois job. His success there got him the NC State job. He's been at NC State 11 years, never won the ACC title, and he's never been in a New Year's Six bowl game. So he's 81-58 in his career, basically about 7-5 each year is what his North Carolina teams have shown. I don't think he's ever won 10 games in a season either. He is in a tough conference. His ATS record, 62-70 overall. So he's got a losing ATS record. If you're a Wolfpack backer and you bet him every game, over the 11 years, you're 15 units down betting his games. Now, we're talking about the total, though. And the reason why I think the total has come down is Dorian being a defensive coordinator. He has some under trends. At home, 42-31 under. On the road, 33-28. So overall, 75-59. Take a quick drink. Those vocal cords wet the whistle here. So I guess you're looking on that side, North Carolina State. Dorian wants to be a defensive coach. His scoring team averaged just 25 a game the last 2 years and gave up around 20. That's 45 points per game. It's a lot of conference games. And I really believe that Dave Dorian runs the ball 56% of the time like he did last year in big games against good teams. Last week against Tennessee, that's all he tried to do is run the football. Amazing. They ran it 39 times out of their 61 plays. 67%, and they were blown out 51-10. Couldn't run the ball. They still tried to. He's got a really good quarterback. Grayson McCall transferred in from Coastal Carolina, and at Coastal, this kid completed 70% of his passes, 9.7 yards per pass, 88 touchdowns, 14 INTs. Terrific stats. He rates for me 6.5 points better than the average college quarterback. So I think they got to let him open it up a little bit. Louisiana Tech is the team to do it against. Tech has given up over 35 points per game the last 2 years. It's a defense well below average. I've got their defense ranked 122 in the country. This is a game NC State can open it up. I think they put up points. I think they get a big lead. And Louisiana Tech will find a way. Sonny Crumby, their head coach, is a up-tempo guy. He was at Texas Tech. He's in that air raid offense era with all those guys. He is on the hot seat at Louisiana Tech. He's 6-18. They've only played one game so far this year. They played on August 31st. He's had plenty of time to prepare for this game. And NC State plays Clemson next week. So I'm not sure how much they've prepared for Louisiana Tech and that up-tempo air raid offense. They're probably preparing for Clemson because that is a conference game, and it's a much bigger game for the Wolfpack. They think they're going to win this game handily, like Oklahoma did last week. Oklahoma did not prepare for Houston. They didn't respect them. They were preparing for Texas, and I believe Georgia is one of the teams they were preparing for. Maybe not if it wasn't Georgia. One of the other big teams on their schedule, maybe it was Tennessee, but that's where Oklahoma was preparing. And it came down to the wire against Houston. I think Louisiana Tech could be in this, but I think NC State's going to score. The side, there's no value for me betting the side, so even just forget that I passed that Louisiana Tech could be in this. I hope they score points. I hope they put up 21, and I hope they lose by 22 what the point spread is, because that game would be in the 60s. So over the 48.5 for me in Louisiana Tech and NC State. I'm going to go to big game, Texas A&M and Florida, another over. I'm an under player, but overs come in more in the first couple of weeks in college football because they're non-conference games. The unders start to happen when these teams get into conference. So that's when I start to really bet games under. I make my adjustments. But in this game, Texas A&M and Florida, I think I've got two really good quarterbacks or teams with quarterbacks. A&M has Connor Wegman at quarterback, 10 career starts, 69% completions, 8.2 yards a pass, 8 TDs, and 2 interceptions in his career. The other side, Florida, Graham Mertz is their starter and had a great year. He's originally a Wisconsin guy, 32 starts at Wisconsin. For the Gators last year, in 10 starts, 73% completions, 8.1 a pass, 20 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. Now, Mertz got a concussion this past week. Five-star freshman DJ Langway steps in. This was against Samford, albeit. So, take what you will out of the stats. 18 for 25, 72%. No interceptions. 456 yards. 456. It's over 20 yards a pass. 3 touchdown passes for Langway. He's a dual threat guy. Big kid, 6'2", 225. He is the future of the Gators. I don't think they give up on Mertz after the year he had last year. So those two guys can get the ball in the end zone. Wegman can get the ball in the end zone. I think you're going to see points here in this football game. Florida got run out their first game of the year against Miami of Florida, 41-17. That game came 58. We're looking at a total of about 46.5 right now in this game. To look at the South Point numbers here and get you the opener on this football game. Well, hate to be slow to get those numbers for you. Game 136, South Point opened A&M 4 and 47. And the current line at the South Point, 3.5, down to 3.5 and 46. So there is a 46 out there. Again, I made a total 58.5. I think it's a high-scoring game. Another game that didn't go my way, but there's many that did, and I won't even talk about them because they've moved 5 points already, and there's no value in those games at all. So we'll move on to a under-the-radar game, I call them. Western Kentucky plays Middle Tennessee this weekend. Western Kentucky, coached by Tyson Helton, has done a nice job at this school, 37-27 covering spreads, and he's an over guy. He's a up-tempo, throw-the-football coach. Quarterback T.J. Finley is a well-above-average quarterback, and this team has beaten Middle Tennessee State the last 3 years. They beat them by 21 at home last year. They beat them at Middle Tennessee by 22, and then they beat them 3 years ago by 27 in their home game. But yet they're only 7.5-point favorite this weekend. I'm not playing the favorite, though. I'm playing the dog. I only made the game 2. I made Western Kentucky 2. I've got them ranked 98th on offense, 93 on defense, and the 95th best team in the country at a 98 rating, 2 points below the average college football team. They're better than Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State, I've got 113 on offense, 120 on defense, and the 122nd best team, a 92.5 rating. 5.5-point difference. I gave 3.5 for home and made the game 2. There's a revenge factor for Middle Tennessee. Now, the key for my game is to bet Middle Tennessee. They have a brand new head coach. That's Derek Mason. Derek Mason was a head coach at Vanderbilt for 7 years. He was a coach in the SEC. That's how highly thought of he is. He's a defensive coordinator by trade. He was the D coordinator last year at Oklahoma State, and they improved vastly. He was a defensive coordinator at Auburn before that, and they improved vastly. So I think he lost his job because of COVID. He was at Vanderbilt. They probably followed the rules, and they didn't practice. They went 0-8 that year. He was only 27-47 prior to the COVID year. But again, it's the SEC. He won 27 games as an SEC team. Brought in a nice quarterback from Colorado State, Battaglio, and he's got good numbers. So I trust him. This game, I think, is going to be a close game because of Derek Mason. Western Kentucky is going to be up against the team they have no respect for, and is going to be far better defensively than what they've seen in the past. So I think that with a good quarterback and put points on a new defense, an improved defense, and the revenge factor, I think those all add up. This game was higher, opened up 8, down to 7.5, but you can still get more than a touchdown on this game. We'll make sure we have enough time. I can get one more college game in for you here. Remember, subscribe and like. Hit that subscribe button, please, and like the show. It helps us here at the South Point. And Sports by the Book. Toledo is at Mississippi State. This one, a game, Jason Candle, 9 years at Toledo. He's done a very nice job. His teams are high-scoring football teams. 35.5 a game last year, 19th best in the country. 32 points a game the year before that. Does have a losing ATS record, 46-52 in his 9 years, but he's 52-47 to the over in his time there. Mississippi State is coached by Jeff Levy. Levy in his first year as the head coach. Remember, this was Mike Leach. Rest in peace, Mike. Was there in 2022. And Mike Leach, loved to pass the football and play fast. Last year under Zach Arnett, who was on Leach's staff, they ran at 54% of the time, 27.8 seconds in between plays, 83rd in the country. So they slowed down offensively drastically. They don't play as fast. They run the football. This is not the same Mississippi State with Mike Leach. I think you're going to see closer to 60% run, and you're going to see a little slower pace from this team. They bring in a transfer quarterback from Baylor, Blake Shapen. Shapen had 23 career starts at Baylor, 64%, 7.4 yards a pass, 36 touchdowns, 13 INTs, and started out well this year against Eastern Kentucky, against Arizona State. Struggled a little bit. They lost ASU 30-20 last week. Arizona State ran all over them, especially one guy for Arizona State had a big game against Mississippi State. Toledo loves to run the ball. Jason Candle runs it 60% of the time. He sets up the pass with the run game, and they do a tremendous job running. And they play fast. So they want to go, go, and they score points. As I mentioned, over 30 points a game in the last couple of years for Toledo's offense. So this game I made Mississippi State 7, total of 56, is up to 11.5 on the board. I'll double check that for you at the South Point to make sure that number is in that area. 12, we can get a half a more point. Actually, open 12 at the South Point. It's down to 10. Let me look in the market here, see if there's 10.5. There are 10.5. There are 11.5 still in the market. So you can grab that 11.5. South Point down to 10 on this game. So money for Toledo there at the South Point, agreeing with my play in this game. I think it's a little closer game. And I did make it 7, so it's not a huge value game. More of a game to me, it's a Toledo Super Bowl game when you're playing an SEC team like this. But this is the weakest SEC team this year. I think even Vanderbilt is going to be better than Mississippi State. Jeff Levy, first-year head coach, is going to be taking on a lot of duties there. So that's it for the college football. That's tomorrow, all tomorrow, except for the Kansas game tonight. Let me look at my NFL numbers. I'm not going to have time to go over NFL games. We've got about 8 minutes left here. So I make adjustments on my power ratings each week. I upgrade every team's win total. And the one team that dropped the most this week in my win totals, Carolina Panthers. I had 5.2 wins. They are at 4 wins now. So they dropped 1.2 games. The team that rise the highest, I believe, is the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Cowboys went from 9.4 to 10.4 wins now in their for their season, and the Chiefs went from 11.9 to 12.9. I did upgrade their team pretty good with a win over the Baltimore Ravens. Now there's another team that did go up a point. One game or one win was the 49ers, went from 13.5 to 14.5 now, because I was conservative rating them coming into the season. I was so high on them when I rated their team out this year. I think I was in July that I was rating NFL teams out, and I think they were early in July. They rated out the highest NFL team I've ever put a rating on. They're that good. They have so many Hall of Fame players on this team, record-breaking amount of Hall of Fame players on this San Francisco 49er team. And a lot of it is going to come down to Brock Purdy. First year, he had nothing to lose. He stepped in. He had no idea what he was doing, just playing football and winning football games with a great team behind him. Last year, I said, I think his numbers are going to drop because he has something to lose now. His starting job, he had pressure on him. He played like there was no pressure in the world. This kid's amazing at, 4-year starter at Iowa State. And he had a very, very solid season for the 49ers last year. And if he puts up the same numbers, this could be the best team to ever play in the NFL. 14.5 wins this year. I think they win 15 games. And if they don't let down, maybe they win 16 games. This is a kind of a trap spot this week. They played on Monday night and then have to travel and play at Minnesota. So short week for them. And it's a bad team. Minnesota's a bad team. But again, they had this kind of situation last year. They lost to Minnesota in this spot. So maybe that is the wake-up call they need, that the coach is going to be pointing out that, hey, last year we played Monday night, traveled to Minnesota. They beat us. We were a big favorite. So make sure you're ready to play. We're only a 5-point favorite. I'm sure they know the betting line. They all know what the betting line is. So I think they'll be prepared this week. They get by this little trap spot. This is a team that can win 15 games and maybe even 16 games. NFL-wise, this week, Ravens, I have 10 and 42.5. I dropped my totals in the first couple of weeks because when I rate my players out in my teams, I rate them out in midseason form. They're not in midseason form early in the year. These games go under at about a 60% rate. My totals on average have been 6 points too high in the first couple of weeks of the season. And then all of a sudden, the offenses start to gain some continuity and scoring starts to go up in week 3, 4, or 5 as the season goes on. So I take 6 points off. I made this 36.5. I do like the game under, open 42 at the South Point, bet down to 41. Chargers, I made 8 and 38. Take the 6 points off. I'm going to make this game 32. This Charger defense will shut down the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young is just not the guy there. Had a miserable game last week as a bad football team. Under 39.5 for me. It opened 39.5 at South Point and has stayed there, but I like that game under as well. I am predominantly an under player. Unders cash 51% of the time overall, and overs only cash 48%. That extra 1% is ties. So I have a 3% edge betting under, so I'm always looking towards the under in all of these games. Biggest difference on the side would be the 49ers, and I made this game 16.5. Again, it's the best team I've ever handicapped in the NFL, and I think they're playing one of the worst. I know Minnesota won last week, but it was against the Giants. So we'll say the Giants are the worst team in the NFL, right there with Denver. Minnesota is just slightly better than them, and they just played a really good game. If Minnesota played the Giants in the middle of the season, the Giants could win the game. It'd be probably a coin flip. But week 1, Minnesota had the edge. They're not going to have the edge here. I just hope the 49ers are ready to play. They should beat this team easily. If you think about the Patriots Super Bowl teams, and if they were going to be playing the Carolina Panthers this week in Carolina, the line is going to be 14. So I don't know why it's only 5. I think that's my best play of the weekend, 49ers minus the 5. Major League Baseball, duck. I'm going to get the sheet. Sorry about that. I would have had it. A couple of games in Major League Baseball. 2 teams. Was on the show with Alex White at Sports by the Book this week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. You can catch us. Talked about 2 teams I've been betting for at least the last month. That's the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've been the hottest team in baseball. Eduardo Rodriguez goes today. I made him $1.49. You could lay a dime, 110. You're going against Freddie Peralta, a pretty good one for the Brewers. But the Diamondbacks far better offensively, and I do like Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for them. I thought he was a great acquisition for the Diamondbacks. And another team that I've been betting is the Oakland A's. Brady Basso goes today, a lefty who's got really good stuff. I gave him a below-average rating. Garrett Crockett, one of the best lefties in baseball this year for a short period of time. But I told people back in July, Crockett, the White Sox were going to limit his pitch count. And they have been. And they lower it every game. The last 2 games, he's thrown in around the 50 range. That's all he's going to get to. And his ERA since they told him we're going to limit how many pitches you throw per game, he has been horrible since that time, since July, beginning of July, 22 1/3 innings. He's allowed 32 hits and 8 home runs and an ERA of 7.55. And I still gave him a well above average rating because of his entire season. I really should be rating him on what he's done the last 7, 8 starts. Even with a good rating, I made this game $1.86. The A's are $1.23. So that's about it. I've done my time here. Well, I guess I got a couple minutes left, so I won't rush it too much. 9:28, we've got 30 minutes. Guess we have 60 seconds left. So again, the A's are my best play today. And I do love the Diamondbacks. Been backing these 2 teams the last 30 days. Oakland's offense has been tremendous. They're in the top 8 in baseball offensively over the last 60 days. Never thought we would say that, but they do have a good lineup top to bottom. And Brady Basso, a lefty that's got really good stuff. And as I mentioned, I was very conservative on my rating for Basso because he's on the road and he's a young guy. And I was ultra impressed with Crockett's overall stats, and I gave him a really good rating. And I still made the game that high. And the White Sox, go look at what they've done against lefties over the last 60 days and over the season. They can't hit lefties. They've struggled mightily. And I raised that number up because I didn't want to be too far out of hand. I could have made the A's maybe a 240 favorite in this spot. So Jacob deGrom makes his debut today for the Rangers as well against Logan Gilbert. Rangers with a big 5-4 comeback win yesterday. That got me. That hurt a little bit. I had the Mariners once again yesterday. They got such a great starting rotation. So that's about it. Appreciate you showing up here today, watching the show live. And you can always watch all the great shows at the South Point studio. Check them all out. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzies, Jeff Parles and Alex White. Parles and Alex White will be tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. and then 9 a.m. on Sunday. And I'll be here with you every Friday at 9 a.m. as well, 9 to 9:30. So I've had a great time. Hope you did too. Hope you learned something today. Hope I helped you cash some tickets. It's been my pleasure. Have a great Friday the 13th. We'll see you next week.